What's that sound? It's for amusement only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast.
Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Since last episode, I finished up multi-races, at least as far as it's going to be finished before the York show. I've got all the buttons installed, and everything functions as intended. All 10 games are now playable and selectable via the menu system. The menu system turned out to be a much bigger challenge than I anticipated. Everything worked great in a simulation mode, but once hooked up to the actual hardware, it no longer functioned. And the way my menu works, I have essentially two threads. One main thread, which contains the menu system, and then a secondary thread is spawned and joined to that main thread in order to allow you to play the game that you've selected. And then that thread is destroyed, and you're back at the menu if you choose to stop playing the game for whatever reason. So when I hooked it up to the actual hardware, it was claiming that the USB device, the Pyprocgame, was still in use. And I tried everything under the sun. I mean, I really tried everything. And I was concerned for a period of time, several days, that I wasn't going to be able to fix it. I tried using a different computer. I tried using different cables. I tried wiping the machine and installing an older version of the OS. And I tried wiping the machine and installing a newer version of the OS. Nothing helped, and the issue was always the same. So what I ended up doing was looking into the source code for libpinproc, which is the underlying library that controls the Pyprocgame hardware and handles the setup and teardown of the connection between the USB device and the Pyprocgame, the hardware. So looking in there, I found a function called prdelete, and I thought I was going to have to call that manually and just write a little C program to quickly set up and tear down that connection as needed. But it turned out that I was able to call the Pyprocgame function, and this is the Python library that allows for communication between libpinproc and the actual hardware. But within Pyprocgame, there was a similar delete command that actually just called prdelete under the surface. So whereas before I was trying to use Pyprocgame to set up and close a connection like I do on the multi-bingo, it turned out that I needed to make this extra call to extra super kill the communication between the USB device before I tried to enjoin that extra thread I was talking about. So I have no idea why this doesn't work on multi-races, but it worked on the multi-bingo. This is very similar code. It's not exactly the same, but the actual code that's handling setup and teardown is the same, or it was. And I just couldn't explain it. So at one point, I messaged Jerry Stellenberg, head of Multimorphic, who makes the board set that I use in multi-races, and asked, in multi-races I'm using a version 2 of the board, and in the multi-bingo I was using a version 1, and about the only thing I could even suspect was that maybe version 2 had some kind of difference in the FTDI chip that it used that was causing this problem. But I swapped in the board from the multi-bingo after some quick advice from Jerry about pinouts and so forth, and the problem was the same. So it didn't follow the board, which means that there's some kind of underlying hardware/software problem that's built into the computer itself. So I reached out to the custom pinball community and had quite a few suggestions, and eventually just settled upon diving into the source for libpinproc to figure it out. But I do very much appreciate all those folks for trying to help me and taking the time to try to figure that out as well. It's a really weird problem, and I'm just very glad that I got it figured out eventually, because that would have driven me insane. So multi-races will be at the York show, the White Rose Game Room show, which is October 12th and 13th of 2019, and this is its debut appearance. It will be there along with the multi-bingo, which has 142 games ready to play. Multi-races has 10, which is 1/6 of the total library of one-ball horse race games. Aside from those games, Universal's 5-Star will be there, and I'm looking forward to seeing people play that game because it's quite difficult to do well on it, but it's very fun and very challenging. So Universal 5-Star will be there, as well as a ton of bingos. There's going to be quite a few different bingos there this year, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing everybody there and teaching people how to play some games, and maybe even fixing one or two if a problem arises. But I will also be there as part of Coin-Op Carnival. This is one of the last 3 stops in the Coin-Op Carnival 2019 release tour. And for the first time in my years of attending the York Show, I will also be a vendor. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a different experience. Bingo Row, I'm hoping to put right in front of the booth so that I don't have to jog very far in order to sell somebody a book if they would like to buy one. But please come see me there, and come see Bingo Row. I will have some surprises, some giveaways as usual, as well as the full complement of Coin-Op Carnival merchandise available for purchase. That includes t-shirts, pins, and books. So I have quite a bit more to do before York. So let's finish up with today's featured game, which is Headliner from 1939 by Bally. Headliner, at first glance, reminds me very much of Nightclub, or Frolics, Nightclub being one of my favorite games of all time. Headliner has a variety of women in the background who are standing on various stair-steppered pedestals all the way up to the top, and before them there are 5 different dancing women, each holding a balloon. And they are arranged in sort of a chevron pattern. And below them is actually the orchestra pit with the band. It's pretty cool to see. But one of the big draws of this back glass, aside from all the mirroring, which is gorgeous, are the curtains. It's been a while since I've talked about a game with curtains, and this game has them. And it's pretty cool looking. I really dig the artwork on the back glass. Looking at the playfield, as far as artwork goes, I really enjoy this too. There's a chevron of bumpers 1 through 5, each of which has one of the women with the balloon on top of it. And if you hit that bumper, I assume their balloon lights up. And of course, that's the main sequence in the game. If you hit all 5, I'm sure something good happens, be it to light the various rollover lanes or to award you replays. I'm not sure which. There's no score and instruction card available online that I've seen. So I'm just looking at pictures and making some conjecture here. But the chevron bumper pattern has done well in numerous games throughout the years, and I always find it very challenging, especially with the post placement that I'm looking at here, with posts arrayed just above the spring bumpers, making it very difficult to hit those as you're coming down. You can't just kind of waterfall down one side or the other and hit all the bumpers. You've got to go in the middle in order to do well. Speaking of the middle, there is a reverse arrow. I say reverse. There's an arrow that's pointed towards the player or towards the drain, which is comprised of several different spring bumpers with posts in between them, and a rollover lane at the bottom, which will score 1,000 points when it's lit. Now, what it scores when it's not lit, I'm not sure, but I do know when it is lit, it's 1,000 points. There are also rollovers to the left and right of the head of the arrow, which score what appears to be 100,000 points. So those are the most lucrative rollover on the playfield. Near the center, there are two Vs, both green, comprised of 3 different spring bumpers and a rollover. The rollover, when lit, scores 1,000 points, and again, I have no idea what it scores when unlit, but the overall effect of red, yellow, and green is very gratifying. It looks really awesome, I think. And the artwork on the playfield, there are 2 dancing women down at the bottom, and they're dancing over a musical staff with 8th notes hanging out on top. Of course, being 1939, this is a flipperless game, and it's one that I've never seen before, but it's one that I'm very interested in playing one day. Hopefully I come across it in my travels, because it looks like a lot of fun. And the artwork is deco, gorgeous, just wonderful. So that's 1939 Bally Headliner. Well, thanks very much for listening. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to me on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, also at Bingo Podcast, or you can listen to me on my website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. If you enjoy video games and you'd like to hear me talk about those with my friend Don, you can hear that at Gaming on 10. That's gamingon10.com. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.